Why Ubisoft? Why you do this? The Mercedes-AMG GT is pretty much the most perfect car that I could ever think of. This is an extremely great-looking car. It sounds pretty good. Could be a little bit better, but I can't complain. In terms of performance, this car is pretty much perfect in every single aspect, except braking. I understand what you guys are trying to do. You're trying to balance this car out with all the other vehicles in the game. But messing with the brakes is not the way to go, especially with this car. This car is an absolutely amazing car in terms of every single performance aspect. But again, messing with the brakes is not the way to go. I mean, this car has so much potential to keep up with like some of the higher end cars. But it's just ruined because the brakes are absolutely horrendous. This is not the only car in the game that has this issue, by the way. The Mazda MX-5 was the first car to actually have absolutely horrendous brakes. And that really annoyed me at first when I took it out for a drive. It's absolutely horrendous. But the track I tested the MX-5 on and the AMG GT, it kind of bounced them out, really. The braking was absolutely... Well, the braking was still rubbish, but for the most part, the AMG GT was able to keep up with some of the higher end cars like the Huayra, LaFerrari, so forth. I took this car to PvP as well. I kept up with the LaFerrari in terms of acceleration, but as soon as I would brake on the first corner, the LaFerrari was just gone. I couldn't keep up with it, no matter what. And that severely annoys me, because I could see the potential of this car. This car is absolutely amazing. And I beg of you, Ubisoft, please fix this, the AMG GT Perf Spec, and the Mazda MX-5, both in Street and Perf Spec. They are both very usable cars in PvP. If they will become very usable cars in PvP, if you fix the brakes. But right now, as they sit, cars like pretty much some of the worst cars in their Perf Spec and Street Spec can outrun them. The MX-5 and the AMG GT. A car like the Cadillac Eldorado, which is pretty much the worst car in the entire game. But it has better brakes than these cars, and it can outbrake them in the corners. This is just completely unfair for these two cars, completely. I mean, again, I understand you want to try and achieve balance. But if some of the cars are faster, they're able to keep up with the Huayra and the LaFerrari, that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a bunch of other cars, like take for example the Mazda RX-7. That thing is pretty much average, but in terms of pretty much average overall. But it can still kick a LaFerrari's ass, depending on who's driving it. And I've done that before, especially with one of my friends. He took the RX-7 and he defeated people in Huayras and so forth. These cars have a lot of potential. And I beg of you, Ubisoft, again, please fix these cars. Fix their brakes. Make their brakes competitive. You don't have to make them the best compared to the Huayra and the LaFerrari. Just make them so that they're actually usable, the brakes. Don't mess with anything else on the stats. Just fix the brakes on the MX-5 and the AMG GT. And then you're perfectly fine. With the MX-5, it's both for Street and Perf. The AMG GT, it's just for Perf. The Circuit Spec AMG GT is pretty much the best Circuit Spec car right now, ever since you added it in. And that's not a problem for me. I don't mind that one bit. I think it's finally time that the Ferrari 458's Circuit Spec finally got dethroned as being the king of Circuit Spec. But still, regardless, the AMG GT3 doesn't have has a slightly worse cornering than the Ferrari 458's Circuit Spec. I don't mind that one bit. As long as it can do some damage to the 458 Circuit Spec, then I'm fine with that. But on my times test, the AMG GT3 destroyed the 458 Circuit Spec, which is just the way it should be. And this should do the same thing. This should be able to destroy the Ferrari 458, the Perf Spec. Same with the MX-5. So hopefully you guys will reconsider and retune this car. And the MX-5 as well. I mean, like I said, there's a bunch. I love this car. The AMG GT is my favorite car in the crew right now. It's so good looking. It performs so well. It performs very, very similar to the Huayra, the LaFerrari, and so forth. But again, the brakes are what hinder this thing the most. So hopefully you can retune the brakes, and that'll make me happy. And that'll make the other people, the people that love the Mazda MX-5, happy as well. So as you can see in the stats, this thing has extremely good brakes, especially compared to the Huayra. Let's see, 775, 775. I mean, let's go to Perf Spec. Let's scroll up to the Huayra if I can find it. That is. Look at that. In terms of stats, the brakes are about the same. And there's the Gran Turismo, which has better brakes. The Continental, which has again better brakes. The Aventador. In fact, the SLS-AMG, look at that. It's got better brakes than the AMG GT. It's kind of pathetic, if you ask me. XXM's about the same. TVR Cigar is still better, even though the stats say otherwise. BRZ as well. Zonda F. Of course, the RX-7. Where's the Eldorado? There it is. The Eldorado, look at that. Look at the braking stats of the Eldorado. So much better. And this is the worst car in the entire game. Come on, Ubisoft. I know, again, like I said, I know you're trying to achieve balance, but this isn't the way to do it. Messing with the brakes. Just fix the braking on this car in the MX-5 for both specs on the MX-5 and Perf Spec on the AMG GT, and then that's it. These cars are perfect. But just don't repeat stuff like this in the future, please. I would like to see cars, all the cars, balanced with each other in this game. Thanks for watching.